Hi, and welcome to Awaken the Authentic You, how to create a life of passion, purpose, and prosperity, even if you think it's too late. My name is Matt Schaefer, and I'm a coach and speaker that created this summit to share with you valuable tools and strategies you can use to live a more fun, authentic, and abundant life, as well as to share inspirational stories of people that have overcome massive obstacles to achieve massive success. And here on the show today, we have Mr. Danny Creed. Danny, how are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you, Danny. Guys, Danny is a master business coach with over, 16,000 hours? Is that how many?
14,000 hours.
14,000 hours of business coaching and consulting. He's a true master of the craft, so I'm sure he's going to have a lot of really good insights for us. So, Danny, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to stop by.
My pleasure and honor. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So I want to start out, Danny, by jumping right into what role passion and purpose has played kind of in your own journey, because you've been doing this for so long. You put in so much time. I'm sure that it is your passion, right? How did you discover that?
Well, I was just, I don't want to get in my whole life story, but I was raised on a farm in southern Kansas and and left the farm. I'm the only member of the family really to leave the farm at the time, and got into entrepreneurial world and in radio stations and working there, and then in the world of entrepreneurship very early on in the 80s. And I was lucky enough to have a lot of my teachers were some people you've never heard of and people you've heard of. I'm very closely associated with the great Brian Tracy. I've spent a lot of time with Zig Ziglar when he was alive. And
wow.
And one of the things that they taught, and it just isn't taught much anymore, is that there's a foundational recipe for success. That before you try anything fancy, before you do anything neat or the latest fad, you have to be sure that your foundation is solid. It's like the difference, the one similarity between a 50-story skyscraper and a 3-bedroom house is if the foundation isn't solid, they're both going to fall over. And I believe that the foundational recipe, it's the same across the board, all over the world, in any business. That foundational recipe, I don't care whether you're running a lumber yard or a Cadillac dealership or a financial planning office, I don't care. The same things apply to make all of those businesses successful. A foundational recipe. And those foundational recipes are things that people go, oh, that's too easy. I'm not going to do that because it's just too easy. I'm going to look for the big fancy solution.
Yeah.
Well, one of those the first and major piece of the foundational recipe is passion. I'm telling you, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, first of all, no one wants to be around you. Now, you can have buddies and friends, but think about people who just kind of go through life and they're always struggling and there's always some issue. And I'm telling you this, that you can either live a life of expectations and positive opportunities. You can live a life of thriving mentality, or you can live a life of survival mentality. Now, how many of us have sat around and said, well, just trying to get through the day. How you doing?
Yeah.
Well, just trying to make it. Just trying to get through the day. Just trying to, make it. And I'll give you a good example from a business standpoint. But also let me explain that I really believe that business and life, there is no business and life
it's
separation.
All one thing. Yeah.
At all. That here's what I try to do with my clients. I try to get you to understand that business and life is this, that we have to figure out how to make them both work together. Then we're happy. But if you think about the people in your life, I interviewed a guy once, because we'll talk about this in a minute, but I believe so much in goals, in written goals. And I asked this guy, do you have goals? He goes, oh yeah, I've got goals. And every day I think about my goals. They weren't written, but every day I think about my goals. I think about them every day. Oh, I go, well, tell me about that. He goes, well, I get up in the morning and I eat and I'm thinking about my goals. I go to the bathroom, I'm thinking about my goals. I do all these things and I drive to work and I think about my goals. I go, great, what's your goal? He goes, every day I go to work and I look at myself and I go, my goal today is to break even.
That ain't
what? He goes, well, my goal is to break even. I go, you're surviving, dude. I mean, how can you live life thinking that you're hoping to break even today?
My goal is to keep breathing.
Yeah, that's exactly my goal is to keep breathing.
To not die.
my goal is to not die today. If you
Yikes.
look at world religions or the power of the mind, if you look at all the great work that Brian Tracy has done, in those areas, and all the great work that the people have done in the power of positive thinking and all that, no matter what you think about it, look, there's a power in the universe. And I'm telling you, they proved in 1928 in what I believe is the business Bible, Think and Grow Rich, that was written by Napoleon Hill. They proved all the way back in there that you are what you think about most of the time. I do seminars and I hold that book up. I've got a modern day copy of it, and I say, what do you think this book is about? Think and Grow Rich. And I've had people go, oh, I don't know. I go, what's the title?
The title, it's the most clear title of any book in history.
Think and Grow Rich. You are what you think about most of the time. So to your point, in order for people to, and I've worked with lots and lots and lots of people all over the world, and I'm telling you that one of the key foundational factors of being successful in life, and by the way, don't ever accept someone else's definition of success. You have to define and understand clearly what your definition of success is. That's the only way you'll ever be successful. But if you understand clearly what your definition of success is, then you can set a plan to expect that, to move forward to doing that. You don't have to be a genius to do this. You have to have a support staff.
Oh, for sure.
And you have to sometimes do hard things like getting rid of bad influences or friends. They always say, if you're an alcoholic and you know it, you can't get a job in a liquor store.
Yeah.
There's just too much temptation. And the same applies to success in life and finding your passion and finding where you're headed. You have to know what you want and very clearly know what you want, and then you can focus on getting it. I'm sorry for such a long answer, but it's just those foundational, part of my foundational recipe of success is just believing and understanding clearly that you can do anything you want.
Exactly, that possibility. That's really the whole purpose behind the summit for me, which it's kind of a meta experience where like I'm living my purpose by doing a summit on purpose, showing other people their purpose. It's
that's exactly right. And it's interesting. We're going to have an interesting, I want to give everybody a little gift at the end of this, we'll talk about that. But I wrote a book last year. It's on Amazon.com. It's called A Life Best Lived, A Story of Life, Death, and Second Chances. And here's what it looks like.
Cool.
But the point is to your summit, and that's why I was so excited when we just met recently. A year and a half ago, and for all the folks watching out there today, I want to pose a question to you. A year and a half ago, I wasn't feeling very good, and I went into the emergency room at the hospital saying, I just don't feel right. And they proceeded to tell me that I had 48 hours to live, give or take. And it was the give or take that.
The take end of that's a little concerning.
And I ended up with a triple bypass heart surgery. But I asked my folks the people attending when I do webinars or workshops around this book, I say, what would you do if somebody told you had 48 hours left? What would you change? Now, before anybody answers, or you answer, Matt, I'll answer it for you. You can't change anything. You've got 48 hours. You can't change anything. You cannot change a thing other than call up some people you love and tell them you love them. That's all you can change. It's like the old joke, I don't want to be the guy that on his deathbed says, gosh, I wish I would have worked another Saturday.
Right.
That's not what I want. So my question is then, since we know that you can't do anything under that circumstance, what are you doing today to protect that from happening? And I'm telling you, my surgeon came in the morning after the surgery and set me down, and he knew what I did for a living. And he goes, Dan, I want to ask you something. He said, most people, when I give them the second chance, said they don't honor it. They go home, They start eating cheeseburgers and smoking, thinking, hey, I got a new heart. You know,
I got a new model. Let me trash this one too.
Yeah, let's do this one again.
God.
And they do it. And he says, I'm going to challenge you. What are you going to do to honor your second chance? And long story short, and that's what I chronicle in the book, but I got to thinking about that. And the realization for our conversation today was this, and this is the line I want. If I pass nothing else on to our viewers, Matt, I want people to think about this, that most of us, most people out there spend their entire lives waiting for someone else to give you a second chance.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, that is a fallacy of life, that you're missing life, that you have the ability. And one thing I learned is that you have the ability, and I try to teach this to everybody I work with, you have the ability to give yourself a second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth chance, and a fifth chance if necessary. But you have the ability to say, okay, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I'm going to give myself a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
If you screw something up, you get a second chance to do it again. But most of us go, oh, I screwed something up. I'm just a waste. I'm not any good at my,
I'm just going to quit.
I'm just going to quit.
Yeah.
I made this mistake. I was alcoholic. I used drugs. I got too fat. I don't exercise. I'm not educated. All these fears that people have. I've worked with business owners that just by identifying and eliminating the little fears that go around in your head, they've become millionaires. They've climbed mountains. They've achieved things they never thought possible.
Yeah.
And that all comes from the simplicity of saying, you know what? I have the ability to give myself a second chance. So it's pretty powerful.
It is powerful. And what would you say it's so powerful, and it's really the crux of this entire thing, man. We're in direct alignment about what we want to create, I think, in relationship with other people and with our clients. And I'd love for you to share, you coach so many thousands of people around, what are like the two biggest fears or limiting beliefs that you find that you run up against when you're coaching people that you have to coach them through?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first limited belief, I think, is just, and this is really back to foundational, is just, it's hard to put a finger on because it's all in this genre, but I'm just not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not qualified. I've talked to people that come from poor backgrounds and they go, well, I come from a poor background. Or they go, the big one I hear is, oh, I didn't get to go to college. So in essence, they're saying, I don't deserve to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You look at one of the greatest authors of history is a guy who wrote Western books, Louis L'Amour. He sold close to 1 billion books or something like that. It's just a phenomenal amount of books he wrote, hundreds of millions. Anyway, he had the equivalent of a third grade education. But when he died, he had 4 honorary PhDs. I mean, it's just, what are you willing to give to yourself? I know my personal journey is that I've come from the farm, and it's a very small town, and you're pretty much told, well, if you can go to college, that's okay, and and this and that. But I realized one day, I didn't get to go on to college. My father died and didn't provide anything for us, and so I had to go to work. And but I said, if I sit down, I read Louis L'Amour's life story. If I sit down and read the right books, I can have the equivalent of an education of any doctor or lawyer. So I started reading books on sales and marketing and positive thinking and how people think, and really learning the keys and the secrets of success and personal development. And I read and I read and I read. So it's an amalgamation of all these little things. Like, again, well, I didn't go to college, so I can't be successful. I come from a poor family. I'm too short. I'm too fat. I part my hair on the left side of my head. That's why I don't have any hair.
You eliminated that from your list of ego conversations.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But the self-limiting thing usually comes back to exactly what that term is. It's exactly self-limiting.
Mm-hmm.
You get this thing, and usually it's an excuse. I'm sorry, everybody, but it's usually an excuse. It's a baloney excuse of you not wanting to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not wanting to work. You're not wanting to put it in. You're not wanting to accept the fact that you could if you put enough time in.
Yeah, and you're not willing to face that underlying fear, because I feel like we have all these excuses and all these different, like, really specific limiting beliefs, but that underlying foundational piece is like a big broad one of like, we're not worthy.
Well,
we're not worthy, and it shows up in so many different ways in every area of our life.
That's exactly right, and it does. It's again putting yourself in that position of living a life of thriving versus a life of fear versus a life of surviving, because that surviving mentality is really a mentality of some kind of fear. I know last year after I came back from my heart surgery, I sat down with all of my clients. And I said, look, this is what we're going to do for year-end planning. We usually do months and months and months of year-end planning. I said, we're not going to do that. We're going to deal with one question, and that is, want one fear, and this is very personal, but want one fear do you have in any level? Do you have that might be keeping you from taking the next level? Now, with these people, these are people who are pretty successful on their own, but every one of them just can't seem to get to the next level of success, whatever that can be. Okay. And when I say that, I mean that Zig Ziglar used to say, the problem with mountain climbing is that when you finally reach this peak, you can then see other peaks you couldn't see before that you're going to have to climb, and that's that whole positive thinking thing. I have a friend of mine taught me this a while back. We've all heard the whole deal of, is the glass half full or half empty, right? Well, some people say, well, I'm a half full guy. Well, I'm a half empty guy. My friend said, so what? And he drank the whole glass. He goes, the glass can be refilled.
I like that. Yeah.
It's not half full. It's not half empty. Who cares? It can be refilled if you have the right mentality.
That's the right mentality.
And that revolves back to the second thing, I think, is that you asked what the two things were. The second thing I really believe is people just don't have a clear picture. It's clarity. In my office, my professional office, I have 5 dry erase boards, and the top third of every one of those says the word clarity. Every business owner or successful person I've ever met or struggling, had an abundance of clarity or a complete lack thereof of clarity. It's like my brother-in-law is a minister, and I've asked him what his biggest issue is in working with people, and he goes, I can't get people to pray clearly. So people will go, God, make me rich. Well, what does rich mean? How do you define rich? There's no clarity to that. It's the old joke of the guy who prays every day to win the lottery, and he opens up the paper one day and finds that some guy back in the countryside won the lottery, and he's all upset, and he's shaking his fist at the sky, and a lightning bolt hits him, and the voice from above said, look, you got to go buy a ticket first.
Yeah.
So we live in such a lack of clarity on what we want. That's why people will say, well, how rich can I be? Dan, how rich can you make me? Or how successful? I go, look, you've got to decide that definition. Because my definition of wealth, for instance, is much different than yours, man, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I know it's much different than a lot of my family, and your definition of success has a completely different reason to it than mine would be.
It's all so subjective, and I mean, like, it's so interesting how our goals and our vision for what we want to create a lot of times is very subjective. It's very independent. It's very unique to us.
Exactly.
The fears and the limiting beliefs and the things that are holding us back are often so common, like they're so shared,
Yeah.
Worthiness, a sense of entitlement, a lack of clarity. It's all these there's 4 huge things that keep most of us from achieving that very unique thing that we want to create. And I totally agree with clarity.
Well,
a fundamental piece of that.
I'll share with you right after my surgery, some weird things happened in my head and everything, and I just had to deal with it. But one of the things that I had a vision for, whatever people believe in that, and it was a sign, because I was really struggling with voices in my head. You should have died. And all these,
Yeah.
I call them
For sure.
what if demons, and this vision appeared to me, and it was on a yellow piece of paper, and I have it right here. I'd show it to you, but I don't want to get up in front of the camera. But it was a yellow piece of paper, and it was a sign, and the sign said, life is best lived than feared. That was pretty heavy. I mean, I woke up and went, holy cow, because I hadn't slept in like a week, and I go, that's it. And I slept.
Say that again.
Life is best lived than feared. Which you realize a lot of people waste time. I'm a big I'm a big time management freak, but when people waste time, they don't realize how perishable time is. How when you waste time, you're really wasting something you'll never get back. It's like a banana on the counter too long.
Yeah.
You just have to throw it away, and time is that way.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand that, like it or not, our time is short.
It is. That's so funny that just that thing that came to you that reminded me of when I quit being an attorney, and I was actually living at home with my parents, and I just was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. Like, I'm in this weird existential crisis. And a buddy of mine came to me, and he's like, hey, I want to, take over a restaurant in San Diego. Do you want to be my partner in doing that? And I was like, oh my God, that's a huge question. I've never even been to California. I've never done a restaurant, like such a huge thing. And I was at a Chinese restaurant, and I opened up a fortune cookie that I had, and it said, you can either follow your fears or be led by your passions. And I'm
wow, that's great. That's great.
That was on my board for, I think, 3 years, like above my desk, as I came out to California and did it. And I mean, that's the fundamental question that I think we all face. And I feel like as a result of just this conversation so far, a lot of people are going to be inspired to, take that. They're going to want to get going on this. And I'd love for you to share what a good first actionable step would be for anybody who's looking to discover their passion and start, living that and turning it into purpose. What's a good first step?
I'll give you three. Well, the first one is something we've already mentioned. Absolutely sit down with a yellow pad and define absolutely, purely, clearly what success means to you. I do that with anybody that might be going into my profession. I work with a lot of international coaches, and the first thing I'll say when they're thinking about it, I said, what do you want out of this? What does success define to you? I had one guy say, well, I want to make $500,000. I had another guy say, I just want to pay my golf club fees, have something to do that means something, and take my whole family on vacation. And so if I had 60 or 70 grand, that's okay with me. But that's his definition of success. So clearly sit down, take the time to define exactly what your definition of success is. Second thing is, if you can, set some goals, because that's part of that clarity process. And here's some statistics that'll just curl. Most people won't believe it. 70% of our society has no goals at all.
Jesus.
70%. Really? Now here's the next best. 28% says they have goals, but they're not written. Some of the great thinkers, Brian Tracy and Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and all these guys, say it's not valid whatsoever unless it's on paper.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, so it has to be written. 28% say they have them, but it's not written. They go, oh yeah, I've got them, but they're up here. No, doesn't count. I'm pretty hard on that.
I bet you are.
And then 2%, some people say less, has written goals. And there's been some studies that say that everyone else works for that 2%.
Yeah.
They have clear written goals. And the thing is, just a side note, if you don't make it, just change the goal. Change the date, but they have to be very clear. They have to have a date on them. They have to be very clear of how you define wealth, of how you define success. It has to be very clear of what you want for your life and those people around you. But you have to write it down. And again, don't say, oh, well, I'll go buy a bunch of goal-setting programs or something.
It's super easy. You don't need to buy anything to set goals. Yeah.
Just start. Just do something. To get the clarity, but don't go through life going, oh, I've been praying to win the lottery and it hasn't happened yet. Or I've been thinking positive, that I was going to get out of this trailer house, but it hasn't happened yet. Look, write it down, clarify it, get absolutely clear. One of my mentors was an admiral at the Pentagon, and he used to say, look, clarified to me means to make it so simple that a room full of fourth graders would understand it. Then they could be able to tell their friends about the meeting and be able to explain it.
I love it.
So you have to just take time, but do it. And don't be afraid of the clarity. And the third thing then is have the nerve to sit down in a quiet room, lock the doors, and identify what you're afraid of. Identify what those fears are. I didn't graduate from college, and you look at them. If you really just claim it and put it on paper, you'll go, well, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah. Your fears seem a lot like they lose all their power when you kind of expose them to the light of day, right?
That's right.
Like take a bunch of sticky notes and like write each fear on a sticky note and then like post them up on your wall and then look at them and be like, the hell is this? And then just take all the sticky notes and just throw them in the friggin' garbage, And
it's like a vampire. You get in sunlight, they disappear.
Yeah.
So I kind of call them, vampires of life. Because they'll suck your life out.
They drain the energy right out of you. Yep.
Unless you expose them to light.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and so those just the clarity and written goals and just identified fears. Again, I have clients that have in 1 year went from $500,000 in business to $5 million. And the whole purpose, the whole thing behind that was they eliminated fears. They had some fears in their head they've been carrying around, and we just identify them, put them in the light, and go, okay, we can work on this. We can read some books. I can support you. I can be with you. Get a support group. Unfortunately, Matt, a lot of people, when they do set goals, the people who keeps them from achieving those goals are many times the people closest to them.
That's so true.
So I always say, look, don't run out and share it with everybody. Find out who's the right person you can share it with. And if it's you, or if it's me as a success coach or a business coach, or if it's a friend, if it's a professional, that you have to go to, do it. But be sure you can trust that when you tell them that they'll go, good job, man. They won't go, are you sure? You can't do that.
Yep. 100%. Well, and we also have to think, we have to keep in our minds that, a lot of times our friends and our families that maybe aren't in personal development, or they aren't in that expansive space, the ones that are in survival, they're going to respond to our expansive goals with a survival response. They're going to try to pull us back into that fearful space because that's the way that they've decided that life should be lived. So, and especially in the early stages, right, our goals are like these delicate little seedlings that we're trying to nurture and grow. And it's really easy to squash them if you expose them to the wrong kind of people. So,
well, even past that, then you're right on. You're 100% right. Even past that, though, the hard part to accept many times is that the people closest to you want to share these with, there's a level of jealousy, and they don't want to see you successful to this level, because then they wouldn't be as successful as you. So sometimes they try to squash that.
And that doesn't have to be a conscious thought. That's the other thing I think we got to remember, is that this could be a subconscious thing where they don't recognize consciously, oh, I'm trying to put this person down because I don't want them to be better than me. It could just be a subconscious feeling of like, oh, that doesn't feel good that this person's going after that. So I'm going to, react to it in a certain way. Like, people aren't necessarily self-aware of why things are making them feel a certain way. So it's not like a character judgment against them. It's just like, that's where they're at, and they're just reacting to their feelings, and they don't understand why they're having those feelings, right?
But understand, it could be the other side too. They just don't want to see you be a success.
And then absolutely, it totally could be. And something else that I wanted to just circle back to a little bit, because this is a really important thing. It's something that I deal with a lot, is the whole concept of like timelines for goals and clarity. Because for me, I've always adopted, I used to adopt hyper-specific goals, and now I've gotten a little broader because my vision's expanding so fast and my life is expanding so fast that I'm always like, I would like to have this by this timeline or something better, you know, and like leaving it open to the possibility that there could be something greater than what my current vision is. Because I feel like as we move forward, we gain more clarity and things continue to evolve, you know, and almost like we can pigeonhole ourselves if we make our goals like too specific, like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I believe that you have to make it very, very specific, because you can change them once you achieve them. But I will also say a great exercise is to sit down and leave it open like that to an extent, but sit down and go, okay, between myself and myself, what might that be? Create a dream sheet. Say, well, you know, clarify what that might be. Just let yourself go crazy. Say, you know, I'm going to become a millionaire by December 2018. And then I look around and go, but maybe I could be a millionaire and then also give $1 million to my favorite charity and give $1 million to my little high school for a scholarship. And maybe I could take that money and the influence I now have and bless people with this and this and this. So think it's always good to try to. I was in the Caribbean one time working with one of the telephone companies in the Caribbean, and I had a hotel room on a cliff, and it looked down into the bay. And I got up in the morning, and it was early, and I couldn't sleep, and I was having coffee, and I saw a couple of little boats out there, and I go, well, you know, I would have expected more. The longer I sat on the balcony, the sun came up and started burning fog away, and I saw bigger boats. And by the time the fog got completely worn off, there were 3 cruise ships in the harbor. And so, you know, that's where I say the same with goal setting. You know, go ahead and say, leave some room for big success, but have in your mind what that might look like. That's the only step I would take. Sit down, take the time to say, what would be really cool? Again, the question I always ask is, if you had no restrictions and no constraints, no matter how goofy that sounds, what would you really like? And that's really hard for certain types of personality profiles. And I'll tell these big tough guys, I'll say, look, tell you what, just be somebody you're not for 5 minutes. Go crazy. Write down what you go. If you achieve this, but you know, if I had no restrictions, no constraints, no money shortage, no, you know, I want to meet the president, I want to meet the Pope, and I want to meet, you know, it sounds crazy, but what if? And identify those, put it on paper, make it real. The law, what you do is, and a lot of my mentors will say, you now enable the law of attraction. Yep. And it's out there, man. I see it every day.
Oh, yeah.
It's out there. You start, again, you are what you think about most of the time. You achieve what you think about most of the time. So have very clear, specific goals in 7 areas of life that we believe to be a fulfilled person, but always have that very clear dream level. What if?
Yeah. Have that additional space for it to expand, you know, and
that's believing that anything's possible.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to just touch on from all that amazing stuff that we just talked about is like the relationship between clarity and committed action. Because I think that clarity is very valuable, but it also can be another one of those excuses that perfectionists and people use. Well, I don't have total clarity on what this is going to look like, so I'm just not going to act. You know, and I've noticed in my life that a lot of times, like, I don't necessarily know exactly what things are going to look like when I get started, but as I am in committed, imperfect action, clarity will come. Oh, like the fog will fade as I'm moving, you know, but if I had waited for clarity, total clarity, I would have never gotten started, or I would have sat there in my head and been like, about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Let me share a piece of research that's really important for this conversation. There was a research piece done, collaborative research piece by one of the big colleges here in the United States that does this kind of research, and you know, like it was similar to Harvard Business School and Babson College and some of these things, and they went out to search out and interview successful entrepreneurs, and they were looking for what is the is the factors out there in success that makes a successful entrepreneur. What are they shared? And they looked at ethnicity, gender, male or female, college education, family background, age, income, and on and on and on. And after all this research and interviewing 100,000 plus, guess what? There was only one thing. There was only one. It wasn't income. It wasn't age. It wasn't family. It wasn't gender. It wasn't ethnicity. It wasn't part of the country. It wasn't any of those. You know what the number one thing was? The number one thing was that they shared was the willingness at some point in time to simply step out in faith. And what that means is at some point they go, I believe I'm about as clear as I can get right now. I believe I've really put the honest effort into it. So I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm just going to step out. Remember, for all of us watching, remember the old Indiana Jones movie, the second one where he was looking for the chalice, and he comes up to and all of these people are behind him, and there's a big 1,000-foot drop off, and he says, "This says there's a bridge." And they go, well, there's not, and they were being chased, and everybody leaves except him. And he goes, this says there's a bridge here. And he goes, and he steps out. And sure enough, there was a bridge. He threw some dirt on it. It was a glass bridge, right? It was a clear glass bridge. It's the same thing in life, man. I said, to answer your question, at some point, you got to get as much clarity as you can, honest clarity. What does this mean? How do I define it? Okay, let's see what happens. That's where people get screwed up, because they won't go, let's go.
Just take the step. Exactly. It's so funny you say that. I use that imagery of the stepping out into the abyss and the bridges there. I use that all the time, and I forgot where I got that from. It's from that friggin' Indiana Jones movie. I've used that one like a dozen times in public speaking, and I'm just like, you should step out in the unknown, and then the bricks just magically go there, and you don't even see them. And I forgot it was from that Indiana Jones movie. So thank you for reminding me where I got that talking point from. That's
but think about, to be able to do that, you have to have a lot of things that you've adjusted. You have to have a lot of clarity, as deep as you can go, but you also have to have a level of confidence
in yourself. Yeah,
in yourself. What you're doing. You have to have a level of faith in something. You have to be willing to go, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Scary, but it's fun. My wife says I'm missing the nerve in the back of your neck that makes you fear of risk. But but that, and further, I don't want to scare anybody out there. Listen, you don't have to have any surgery or anything like that. You just have to be confident that I've done all I can. Because you were right earlier, man. Is that a lot of people will go a certain way and then go, well, it doesn't look like I can be successful. I'm really enamored in what special forces people and how they're trained for mental and as well as physical, Navy SEALs and things like that. And I read a book recently by a Navy SEAL talking about their training, and they claim, and the reason, and many of us might be familiar with how tough that is, how just immensely they'll start with a class and literally 10% of that class will survive, but the thing that got me is they said that they base a lot of that, how intense it is, based on the fact that they really believe that when somebody quits, that they're at 40% of their capacity. That you really have 60% more out there to go, and that's why they push so hard, so you can see where you can go. But most people in life give up or quit, according to that, at 40% of capacity, and I believe it's probably at 30%.
Way less. Oh yeah. For a Navy SEAL to quit in their training, they're already pushing themselves way more than I think most humans do in their entire lives.
Absolutely. And so it gets down there to what is left in you. Why are you quitting if you stop?
Why are you not believing that you're capable of so much more than you have? What stories have you made up based upon your past experiences that have reduced your perception of who you are and convinced you that this level is all that you're capable of? Because it's absolutely not. Like, the possibilities that exist for all of us are profound.
I hate to be that's right. I hate to be so blunt, but sometimes people are just lazy. And they don't have goals. They don't have a focus. You know, they don't. How many people say, you know, how you doing? Ah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
mean,
they've made it okay. It's okay for them. And that was something that's always driven me so much, is the terror of living a mediocre life. Like that was like of just being trapped in this like mediocre life that just is at, plateaued out, and I'm bored, and
yes,
I would rather be homeless and going for it than be just trapped in a box that I built around
good
myself and
point.
not feel like there's a way out, Like I've just never been
Good
able
point.
to be okay with that. But a lot of people are, and that's why they are, but they aren't, Like they've convinced themselves that they are, but they feel underneath it all that something isn't right. Like they're not lit up about their lives, that's literally the reason that I'm doing this, to help show people that that's possible for them and they can be lit up if they just believe it and, change their relationship with
Yeah,
uncertainty and risk.
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I address it in my book. I say, you know, just getting that clarity of setting down and getting absolute clarity how you define success and the goals and such. I said, because it goes the opposite way too. I want you to get the clarity that you're okay with the way things are. You know, if you're happy living in a, you know, van down by the river, and that's where you live, and you know you're digging through trash cans to eat, and your life is terrible, and you know, and all that stuff. Okay, if that's your reality, but understand that that's your reality, and then shut up.
Yeah.
I get sick and
Stop
tired of
complaining.
bitching and griping and moaning about the government or all the things why they can't be successful. You know, well, look, understand what's okay with you and what isn't, and then live with that. But shut up. I don't need to hear it.
No, you don't understand. It's Trump's fault that I'm addicted to heroin and living in a van down by the river.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
whose fault it
It's
is,
his fault.
obviously.
Oh, okay. Well, he sold you
Yeah.
a roundabout way. He did.
Yeah.
No, it's just excuses, and that's the hard thing for some people because they've used excuses
Their whole
so
life.
long for their lack of success,
Mm-hmm.
air quotes, you know. But the lack of success that they just so used to blaming somebody.
Yeah.
It happens in religion all the time. It
Mm.
happens in rehab all the time.
Oh,
But
yeah.
but the fact is, you know, you can go all you want about that, but the average human being, everybody's making it, you know, the ones that are really successful, if you really talk to them based on their level of success, is just because they're not satisfied with normal. You know, they're not. I do a business success in any environment, in any financial environment seminar, and one of the things I say is, if you keep doing business the way you've always done business, you will be out of business. And it's the same with life. You keep doing it the way you've always done it, it's just not going to work. So identify it and live that life of you're ready to refill the cup.
Yeah.
It's not half empty. Look, we can refill the sucker. You know, we can keep putting more back into it, and that's study, that's reading. Go to the library. You know, read the newspaper. You know, go online and subscribe to newsletters. Surround yourself. When I came out of my surgery thing, I think I read about 25 books just on second chance and living a better life, and how can I get better and stronger. And you know, I was already down that path like you are, man. But you know, there's a lot of people out there just don't know how to focus positive energy.
Yeah.
And we're not talking, you know, chanting and all that. If that's what you do it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just get some basic foundational clarity in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, here's the line for you. I want you to go clearly understand, what does good look like? What does good look like for you? Not what does okay look like, not what does good look like? How do you define success? And that will help immensely. You're doing great work here, man.
Thank you.
I want to give my appreciation for what you're doing.
Oh, I mean, I love it. Thank you so much. That means so much to me. And, you know, I mean, it's just fun to be living this and to be connecting with, you know, visionaries like you that are on the same path and are just lighting people up about what they can create in their life. Because at the end of the day, like, we're all on the same team here. and we're all just trying to co-create a better world.
Yeah.
The more people understand that, and the more people understand their power,
Yeah.
and take ownership of it, we're going to live in a better world, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's at the end of the day, like, I'm giving my life for that purpose, and I'm happy, and I'm ecstatic to be doing it. Like, I'm not like outcome dependent on it. I'm just going to do it, and then we're going to see what happens. You know, like, I have clarity on who I am and what I want to create. And so that's like, I just live it every day, you know? And
Matt, do we have time to me add one more piece to this whole process we've been talking about?
Yeah.
One of the things I'm writing a new book, and it's called Mastering the Grind. And what that means is, I realized quite a while ago that the grind was something we kind of understood, but nobody really focused on it. And so the key is to being, I believe, taking yourself to a next level, which is what this is all about, right? Is to understand very clearly. I mean, this is the simplest process, but understand very clearly what you want. We've talked a lot about that here. But then you have to separate all the other stuff, and I call it the grind. And everybody in every phase of life has a grind. I met a professional athlete, and he's paid millions of dollars, and you know, and he said, we're standing in the stadium, and he looks up, and 80,000 people here. He says, "This is what I live for. I live for this." He goes, "But no one sees me at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning in the off season lifting weights." He goes, "I don't like that. I don't like it at all, but I have to do that to get this." So if you're a salesman, what do you have to do, whether you like it or not, whether you want to or not? What do you have to do every day in order to achieve that goal, whether you like it or not? And if you settle in your mind that I've identified that I don't like doing it, but I have to in order to achieve this. So I urge, and I have a whole lot of research on this, but I urge everybody to, once you get clear on what you want, then understand what your grind has to be. I have a buddy that's going through cancer treatment right now. And I mentioned this to him, and he goes, "I have a grind. I have a grind every day to just survive this. Just to believe I'm going to survive. So I have a grind of reading every day. I have a grind of telling myself I'm going to live. I'm going to be here at Christmas. It's this grind of, I have to exercise. Even if I'm not feeling good, I have to make sure I go try to exercise. The best definition of discipline I've ever heard is doing what you need to do when you need to do it, whether you want to or not." So we have to understand clearly what we want. Then we have to be disciplined of what's it going to take, some of the stuff we need to do to get there.
Exactly. Yeah. And being willing to make that sacrifice, and being willing to be uncomfortable, and being willing to put our our lesser desires on the shelf for the greater good of our vision, and what we want to create. Like, I'm now at 36, 37 interviews for this summit. Like, you're up there. I was supposed to do 21. I'm now at 35, 36, 37 interviews, and I'm just I'll be honest with you, I'm exhausted. Like, the process is so tiring.
I bet.
But I mean, what if I capitulated to that, to my exhaustion, and to my, I'm just tired. I love the interviews, I love the dialogue, but all the back end that goes along with putting this stuff together, it's brutal, And so, but if I had capitulated to that, we wouldn't be having this incredible conversation that I know is going to change the lives of people, and if it just changes the life of one person, then that's it.
All it's about.
That makes it all worth it, and people get to get outside of their heads and get outside of their selfishness about why they're doing what they're doing, because when we focus out and we get out of our own internal dialogue about it, it becomes a lot more fun,
Well, think of it like this. Let me put it in an even more tighter phraseology, is that success never happens until you step out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
I've heard it before. I've heard other people say it, and I'll quote it over and over again, that your comfort zone might be just outside of your comfort zone might just be admitting that you have a fear of something. Outside your comfort zone might be, for some people, taking a microphone and standing up in front of people and talking. It can be little stuff or it can be big stuff. But again, the key to changing your life and really, your purpose. Again, you mentioned finding your purpose when you started. Some people don't find their purpose until they're in their 60s.
Absolutely.
So the fact is, if you haven't found your purpose yet, no matter how old you are, don't freak out, man. Because remember, we get second chances, third chances, fourth chances. Your purpose might be tied to something you don't even know yet.
Yeah.
You might start doing something over here and end up, I have a friend whose relative, a friend talked him into going on a mission trip, down in South America. I'll never do that. Why would I ever do that? He got down there and just went like, wow, and now he's dedicated his whole life to just doing mission trips, and, and if you like movies, if you ever saw the Blues Brothers movie, remember,
it's classic.
Remember Jake was in the Jake and Elwood were in the church, and the ray of light hit him, and he goes, the band. That's really, that's your purpose.
You have that moment. And it's like, live life for that moment and be aware of it and be conscious of it, and then cherish it and act on it. Like, that's all available to us. And like, there's so much great guidance, I feel like, that we've explored in this interview. I would love for you to share a piece of advice or a piece of guidance that you hear going around a lot that's totally wrong, like something that you would like to warn people to not to follow.
Oh golly, that's a really good question. But for people not to follow, it's probably that I see the biggest money wasted today by people by people trying using the internet to solve their problems. That they buy a special fad service, or they try something that takes time and effort. Well, I guess my mind's thinking that's a great question. I think one of the things is, what is it? I don't know. I mean, how do I say this? That all your communication should be done on this.
Yeah.
I just read an article, and I've been researching it, that they now say that there's actually an addiction they're relating it to, and it's a interruption addiction. That every time your cell phone buzzes, every time email comes in, that every time that's an interruption, and with each interruption, your mind actually gets a squirt of dopamine, which is similar to cocaine. And so the average American adult checks their cell phone 148 times a day. And so, the whole thing that we're being pushed on is, and it takes 17 minutes to get back in focus after an interruption. So if you look at the average millennial will check their phones 18 times an hour. And if it takes 17 minutes to get back into focus after every interruption, then we've got a whole society that's not ever in focus. I have a friend that's a headhunter that says the number one trait they look for now is the ability to handle, start, and complete a single task. So it's not being a multitasker. To answer your question, it's probably that multitasking doesn't work.
It's a fallacy, which is the one thing, right? Gary Keller, that's like, he has an entire section of the book on the fallacy of multitasking and how statistically it reduces your performance by 30%. Like 30% of our work is lost forever because we're trying to do too many things at once. And
it's actually a little higher than that, but I think that's my answer now. That as I talked about that, you have to be a multitasker, and everybody thinks that, well, I'm handling myself. I've got my laptop, I got my desktop, I got all this stuff going. And Brian Tracy says in his great book, the Eat That Frog, the time management book. He basically quotes, and one of my favorite quotes is the German philosopher Goethe. He says, never allow the most important things in life to be at the mercy of the least important things. And so the whole idea that we've trained ourselves to believe that you have to be a multitasker is completely false. You never get anything done. You spend your whole day, at the end of the day, you go, boy, I was really busy. Did you get anything done? Not really. So that's probably took me a while, but I mean, I think that's it. That if you think you're a great multitasker, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's great.
Focus. We got to learn to get the clarity. We've got to learn to deal with one task at a time and get it done. And you're going to be more valuable in the marketplace than ever before.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for that, Danny. And what would be like your final thought, like the final takeaway that you'd like to leave the audience with as they go out into the world today?
Well, I'll leave you with two things from in my book. What I developed was I realized that it wasn't the big things that you needed to do to live a life best lived, that it was a series of small things that we just had to master. And I came up with 11 of those small things. And the ones that get the feedback all the time, to answer your question, is the first one is life is best lived than feared. We've got to be honest and identify the fears in our lives and deal with that. And it was number 8. It was commitment 8. And 8 is I have to live a life of being more grateful. Now, I'm telling you, it will change your life. For those of you, listen to me, listen very close. If you wake up in the morning and you plan to say, I'm going to actively look for a reason to be more grateful today. The waitress, you go to the restaurant every week. You look for a way to go, you're doing a great job. You actively plan to do 2 or 5 extra looking for ways to be grateful. Your life will automatically start to evolve and change. It's crazy. People talk to me all over the world about this, that when they go out and do just that one little thing to actively look, Walmart was built on that premise. The Walmart empire, Sam Walton, he had the Tom Peters idea of managing by wandering around. That was the whole concept. He used to wear a hat that says MBWA. And the concept was all of his managers had to go out and find employees doing something right. So when they saw the boss coming, they didn't go, ooh. They went, come here, boss, and it's the same in life. So, identify your fears. And again, the most popular thing that keeps feedback is I'm going to live a more grateful life. I'm going to really figure out a way to be more grateful because it seems to come back in folds. You seem to activate the law of attraction in a whole different way.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. What is it? Oprah says, if you're grateful for what you have, you'll always have more. But if you're focused on what you don't have, you'll never have enough. You'll constantly be in that state of lack, which is just going to attract more lack. So
that's and the interesting thing, Matt, is that these things we've been talking about, I want everybody to understand that these things apply whether you're a business mogul or a husband and wife, family of 5, and and living in the suburbs. It doesn't make any difference. It all applies. It's a universal truth. And as long as and the universal truth many times is the simplest stuff. It's razor's Occam.
Occam's razor.
Occam's razor. It's the simplest answers. Most of the time, the right answer. So just don't blow any of this off. So
exactly. And thank you so much for that. I really appreciate all this stuff. It's been so much great stuff. I'm pretty confident this interview is going to really impact people and
I hope so.
Look at life a different way. So thank you so much for that. And I'd love for you to share a little bit with the audience about the free gift that you're offering.
I would like to, it's not a great big download or anything else. I'd like to provide everybody whether you have the book or not, the 11 commitments and a brief explanation of that. It's kind of a real small ebook. So we'll provide a link for you, and it'll be a free download, and you can get it. But it's really helped a lot of people. Like I said, I speak all over the country as well as coach, and when I do the workshop, do a lot of workshops, business workshops and such. When I do one just on the whole concept of the book, people just really find that simplicity and those 11 commitments really is one way to quickly and easily change your life. I mean, you look at them a little bit and go, yeah, I know that, but am I doing it?
It's an important question to ask.
Yeah, I know that I need to be more grateful. Well, I know that, but am I doing it? So I'd like to provide the 11 commitments and a nice little explanation with it. And
awesome.
Everyone.
Thank you so much for that, Danny. And how can they learn more about you and your services and what you're up to? What's the best way for them to reach?
Thank you. My website is www.reallife, realworldbusinesscoach.com. And that has my picture on the front and lots of interesting information. Of course, you can go to LinkedIn and put in Danny Creed in LinkedIn. I've got a lot of followers there, and I would love to link with anybody who wants to hook up there. And there's lots of informative blogs and things like this. And you can get my blogs. I post a lot of I try to be very insightful, very simple, foundational. I call myself a street fighting business coach because not a lot of theory here. It's just a lot of experience over all those hours. And I've done 14 startup businesses and work with over 400 turnarounds of businesses and helping people. So my life has tried to be all about helping people become better. And yeah, you can just go check. Be sure to check out my website. Again, let me check my note here. It's realworldbusinesscoach.com. If anybody wants to email me, it's dcreed, CREED @focalpointcoaching.com. And I'm on Twitter @BizCoachDan, if you'd like to join me there.
Cool.
And I'm sure that, I hope anyway, you and I will be doing some more things.
Oh, absolutely. No, this is just the beginning, my friend. I'm really excited to work with you. I think we're in direct alignment. So I really, I'm so appreciative of you stopping by today and sharing so much great stuff. I know you're really busy.
No, I've been real busy, and I plan to take the rest of my day today and do nothing. So
there you go. There you go. And audience, I want to thank you for stopping by today and spending time with us. I hope you got a lot of value out of this interview, and just know that there's going to be more interviews coming every day in the morning. So keep checking your inbox, and we're going to keep doing them until they're done. So it's exciting. You don't know what the end date is, because I don't know either, because I keep doing more friggin' interviews. So
that's great.
Until I'm done, you're going to keep getting emails. So, and they're all going to be awesome. I feel like they're getting better as they go almost. So, I want to thank you guys for stopping by. And I want to close us out today with a little surprise impromptu performance, because Danny also happens to be a master blues harmonica player. So, Danny, if you could play us out. Woo! Yes!
Yeah.
That's a note to end on. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.